The month of May is designated as Child Protection Month, a time to focus on prevention of child abuse, neglect and exploitation. Yet many cases of violence against children continue to be a blight on our collective conscience as a country. This past week, Gauteng police opened an inquest docket following the discovery of a badly bruised body of an 11-year-old Jayden-Lee Meek in Fleurhof, west of Johannesburg. The boy was reported missing on Tuesday, and his body was discovered by a resident in the complex not far from his home. On Friday, just another example, a 51-year-old man facing charges of allegedly raping a 9-year-old appeared in the Wynberg Magistrate's court, while in a different incident, a 29-year-old man accused of raping and impregnating an 11-year-old girl also appeared at the Boksburg Magistrate's court yesterday, and so on and so on. We can cite many examples on a daily basis. So let's focus on that story then. Let's talk to Bianca van Aswegen, National Coordinator of Missing Children South Africa. Stanley Malematja is Senior Attorney at the Center for Child Law at the University of Pretoria, as well as we'll speak to a parent of a child who has been missing for over 3 years now, Tshilidzi Mufunwaini, who is Fiona's mother. Good afternoon. Let me start with you, Tshilidzi, just for you to share with us your story. Tell me about how long Fiona has been missing and what that has been like for you as a family.
Thank you. It's been 3 years now. She went to school. It was on the 11th of August 2022. And then she went to school and she never came back.
Sure. And what efforts have been ongoing? What kind of assistance have you been receiving to try and locate the child?
I've been receiving assistance from the people on social media and from the people from this other, the ELF people. Yeah. They've been assisting me, and from the police, I'm not getting anything.
Bianca, let me bring you in here, because part of what we're building on from the story shared by Tshilidzi is to say it's time for us to reflect and introspect as a society to the extent to which we've been able to live up to our promise in our constitution as well as in the various laws meant to protect children. That story you're hearing from Tshilidzi, how typical is it in the work that you do as Missing Children South Africa?
Good afternoon. Unfortunately, we do see a lot of children going missing in South Africa. We've got a lot of cases of children that have been missing for many years, even dating back to the 1980s, where children are still currently missing. This is not a new phenomenon that we're seeing in South Africa of children going missing. The increasing types of crime towards our children are also on the increase, that is actually contributing to the fact of children going missing, being kidnapped or trafficked. We as an organization work very closely with the South African Police Services to try and also not just assist the families whose children are missing, but also to create the awareness of how to keep our children safe. And I think with the upcoming Child Protection Week, that our protection against our children should be prioritized in South Africa.
Stanley, there's the promise that is carried in our constitution. Yeah. Then there are the laws such as the Children's Act and other laws. Yeah. We do well in sort of using the law in terms of, I don't know, opening up access and issues of maintenance and the likes and really fighting. Not that those problems have been solved, but to what extent do cases such as what Tshilidzi was sharing with us and what Bianca was saying represent a failure on our part as a society to ensure that we live up to those promises to our children?
Yeah, you know, cases of this nature are really devastating, particularly because we have Section 28 of the Constitution, which is specifically tailored for the protection of children's rights. And one of those rights is that children have a right to be protected from abuse, neglect, and negligence. Then we also have, as you mentioned, national laws such as the Children's Act, the South African Schools Act, the Prevention of Human Trafficking Act. So we are doing so well in terms of having the laws that really speak to the issue. But I think where we are actually failing the gap is in implementation. Remember, the laws are documents. They can't pick up themselves and go and find a child.
Yeah.
What the laws prescribe is that they provide for processes. Who is responsible for A, B, and C? If a child is missing, immediately a police officer is responsible for ensuring that proper investigations are being done. But also, the law also bestows responsibilities on parents. Parents actually have a responsibility to ensure the safety and protection of their children. And it's only in circumstances where they are failing where that duty is passed on to the state. So it is very important for parents to always and try to be privy to the whereabouts of their children. You can't just say my child went to go play. Yes, we can't put blame on them. Children wander around, they're inquisitive, but we really need to ensure the protection. The laws are there, but implementation is lacking.
What about the resourcing that is requisite? Are you guys able to monitor the extent to which government takes the problem seriously enough such that structurally the infrastructure required to deal with phenomena such as children going missing is in place and in place at all times?
That is a very good question. Whilst we have the laws, they also need resources for those laws to be implemented. I can tell you at the Center for Child Law for the couple of years, we've been dealing with child and youth care centers which provide safety for children in need of care and protection. And now and then, Thulas, we'll get emails and calls to say, look, government has not funded us and we have 30 children that we are taking care of. So what does that imply? So there isn't an investment in the protection of children. We are just sitting there with the beautiful laws, but there isn't actual investment where you actually get the real resources in order to ensure that those laws are fully implemented. We have laws that state that in every police station, there must be a unit, a desk just designated for, matters of this nature. Go to those offices. Communities have been saying that desk is just there, but there's no one who's occupying it. And if there's someone who's occupying it, they're either clueless, because also, whilst we have laws, we are not doing enough when it comes to training of the officials who are responsible for enforcing those laws. So parents end up not going there, fearing victimization, because they are asked questions that are really out of zone and not really helping with the situation.
Stan, I tell you what, this is such an important conversation, and I do feel that we've been pressed for time. At the risk of my team strangling me, I'm going to ask you to stay put and ask both my other guests, Bianca as well as Tshilidzi, to also stay put. We will try and wrap up this conversation at the start of the third hour of the week ahead. It's too crucial a conversation to leave it hanging in this way. So in a moment, we continue with this conversation before we bring you other news here on The Week in Review. To be in your company this afternoon. We thought we'd just wrap up the conversation we were having earlier on about Child Protection Week. So let me pick up with my two guests online before coming back to studio to Stanley Malematja. Bianca, let me come back to you. So we were talking about the resourcing of the aspirations. We have the aspirations in the Constitution and in the law. Then we have policies that are set in place. What has been your experience working with missing children in South Africa about the resourcing in ensuring that at the point at which there's a report of a child having gone missing, there's adequate response, a properly resourced response?
Yes, we've got our laws that are in place, and I totally agree. We've got wonderful laws, but the implementation of those laws comes down to a different story. Working with missing children or missing persons cases throughout South Africa, one of the main things that we see, just not the reporting process or the resources, but it's actually people waiting before they actually go and report a person as missing. So there's quite a misconception about the waiting period. There's absolutely no waiting period in reporting a person or a child as missing. Please do not wait. Working with the police, yes, unfortunately, we do see cases where families are shown away or where investigations aren't being done properly. But that is why we as Missing Children South Africa are there, to assist these families, to help to get those investigations ongoing, to help and create the awareness regarding a child that is missing, and to also make sure pressure is put on that case that the needed resources is there to assist.
And the issue of missing children has obviously and sadly been brought under the spotlight recently in light of cases such as the Jocelyn Smith case. How much of an opportunity does that focus on missing children provide for us to elevate the conversation, to demand more accountability, especially now in Child Protection Month? If I stick with you, Bianca.
Yes, definitely. Jocelyn, unfortunately, is still currently missing. We've got a step in the right direction with a guilty verdict in the case of the perpetrators with her case, but we want to take the good out of Jocelyn's story. Once again, the topic of children going missing, the awareness that's created regarding child safety and how important it is. So we need to take a case like this because Jocelyn's case was quite a media stir and still is. But each and every missing child out there deserves the same attention, the same investigation, and the same search. So we need to highlight the fact that each and every single missing child in our country is important. No case lacks the fact that there should not be a proper investigation or search for them. We need to also urge the community, please, to keep our children safe. Make sure you know where your children are at all times and report the case as soon as possible so action can be taken.
Tshilidzi, what's been your experience in the search that has been happening for your child, Fiona, in terms of how it's being investigated? And does that experience of the investigation give you hope and trust that the system, including the police and everyone else, are doing the best they can to find your child?
From my case, I can say I'm experiencing, my case is very bad and the treatment that I'm getting, it's very poor. From the police, I can say I'm not getting anything at all because my case has, it has eyewitness, it has suspects. Still now I'm waiting for the DNA. Nothing. The only time I see police is when I'm on the social media so that they can I can sign to make sure that they came and see me, but nothing at all. I'm not getting any assistance from the police. The only people who are helping me is the community, the people from social media. That's all.
Yeah. All right. No, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your story, difficult as it is. Tshilidzi Mufunwaini, mother of Fiona, the child who's been missing for 3 years, as well as Bianca van Aswegen from the national, who's national coordinator of missing children SA. Stanley, let me give you the final word then. We've just been talking about missing children, but there are other issues in the broader environment around child protection. Talk to me about the extent to which we are succeeding in those aspects. Recently, we've been reporting a lot of cases of rapes of children, adults claiming to have relationships with children, especially in the schooling environment and the likes. How much accountability are we getting for that, the systems that are meant to protect children, even in those contexts?
You know, I think the Jocelyn case one is the one that we can say, you know, at least we have seen something that's happening. But I think there's still a lot to be done. And what I'm suggesting is that, you know, we really need to put more effort into early intervention measures and preventative measures. So we shouldn't allow a situation where an adult can confidently say, no, we are in a romantic relationship, referring to a child. So we really need to, you know, those early intervention measures. Once, you know, the Children's Act places a responsibility on all of us, you know, me as a person, as a professional, the police, the social workers, that once we see that a child is in an unbearable situation or might be abused or anything, we immediately need to report that. You know, with Jocelyn, you know, if you followed the whole trial, it was that, no, the mother is a drug user and all those things. That conduct should have been reported because it actually places the child in an unsafe environment that is harmful, you know, to her health and well-being. And look now what has happened. So I think we really need to go back to the drawing board and put more effort on early intervention measures and preventative measures. Then we can start talking about how do we measure the impact that the law has created for us in terms of, you know, ensuring that our children are in a safe environment.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time. That's Stanley Malematja, who's senior attorney at the Center for Child Law, just completing that conversation we've been having around Child Protection Month and some of the areas of focus, particularly around missing children.